In the face of escalating tensions surrounding trade and looming tariffs from the United States, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has adopted a new strategy, transitioning from a stance of warning about the potential economic hardships posed by a tariff war. Trudeau is now extending an olive branch, seeking to align with President Donald Trump's vision for America's future, which he has referred to as the country's golden age. This strategic pivot highlights the complexities of international trade relationships and the intricacies of diplomacy in a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. The context of Canada-US trade relations. Historical ties and economic interdependence. Canada and the United States share one of the most extensive and integrated trading relationships in the world. The two nations are not only neighbors but also major economic partners, with cross-border trade encompassing a wide array of goods and services. This economic interdependence has been solidified through various agreements, most notably the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, which aim to eliminate trade barriers and promote economic cooperation. Over the decades, this relationship has evolved through challenges and triumphs. The U.S. is Canada's largest trading partner, accounting for a substantial portion of Canadian exports. Conversely, Canada is a significant market for U.S. goods and services. This mutual reliance has fostered a sense of partnership, but it has also made both countries vulnerable to the whims of political changes on either side of the border. The rise of protectionism. The emergence of protectionist policies in the U.S. under the Trump administration has fundamentally altered the dynamics of this relationship. President Trump's America First agenda emphasized the need to prioritize U.S. interests, which included renegotiating trade agreements and imposing tariffs on imports to protect American industries. This approach raised alarms in Canada, particularly as it threatened the stability of their vital economic ties. The possibility of blanket tariffs, particularly the proposed 25% import duties on Canadian goods, sent shockwaves through the Canadian economy. Such measures would not only impact Canadian businesses, but could also lead to retaliatory actions, further escalating tensions between the two countries. As the threat loomed larger, the Canadian government recognized the urgent need to recalibrate its approach. Trudeau's shift in strategy. From warning to cooperation. Prime Minister Trudeau's recent statements reflect a significant shift in tone. While he initially expressed concerns about the potential economic fallout from U.S. tariffs, he is now positioning Canada as a partner in achieving shared prosperity. By framing his message within the context of America's golden age, Trudeau aims to resonate with the Trump administration's aspirations, while emphasizing the benefits of maintaining a strong bilateral relationship. In his recent address, Trudeau articulated Canada's value as a safe, secure, and reliable partner in an uncertain world. This characterization is particularly relevant in today's geopolitical climate, where global instability has become a pressing concern. By positioning Canada as a stable ally, Trudeau seeks to reinforce the idea that cooperation is essential for both nations' prosperity and security. Highlighting alternatives to Canadian trade. Trudeau's rhetoric also underscores the potential consequences of a breakdown in trade relations. By suggesting that tariffs could lead to increased reliance on resources from adversarial nations such as Russia, China, or Venezuela, he aims to provoke a reconsideration of the benefits of Canadian trade. This argument plays on national security concerns, suggesting that turning away from Canadian partnerships could jeopardize the U.S. economy and its interests. This strategic communication is crucial in framing the narrative around trade. By emphasizing the risks associated with sourcing from less reliable partners, Trudeau is leveraging the language of security and reliability to reinforce the importance of maintaining a strong economic relationship with Canada. The economic implications of tariffs. The impact on Canada's economy. The potential imposition of 25% tariffs on Canadian imports would have far-reaching consequences for the Canadian economy. Given the extensive trade in goods between the two countries, such tariffs could disrupt numerous industries, particularly those reliant on exports to the U.S. Key sectors, including automotive, agriculture, and natural resources, could face significant challenges. For example, the automotive industry, which relies heavily on cross-border supply chains, could see increased costs that might ultimately be passed on to consumers. Similarly, Canadian agricultural exports, such as dairy and lumber, could face barriers that diminish their competitiveness in the U.S. market. The economic repercussions would not be limited to direct trade impacts. They could also lead to job losses and reduced economic growth. The interconnected nature of the two economies means that disruptions in trade could ripple through various sectors, affecting employment and investment decisions across Canada. #The potential for retaliation. In response to any tariffs imposed by the U.S., Canada would have limited options but to consider retaliatory measures. Historically, Canada has taken a measured approach to trade disputes, often opting for negotiations and dialogue over aggressive retaliation. However, the magnitude of the proposed tariffs could prompt a stronger response from the Canadian government. Retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods could escalate tensions further and lead to a trade war that would adversely affect both economies. Such a scenario would be detrimental not only to businesses but also to consumers, who would likely experience increased prices and reduced access to goods. #A new diplomatic approach. Engaging with the Trump administration. Trudeau's decision to adopt a more conciliatory tone reflects an understanding of the need for diplomacy in navigating the complexities of U.S.-Canada trade relations. Engaging with the Trump administration requires a nuanced approach that balances the need for Canadian interests with an understanding of American priorities. By aligning with Trump's vision for America, Trudeau aims to create a collaborative atmosphere that encourages dialogue and negotiation. Building rapport with U.S. officials and demonstrating Canada's willingness to cooperate could pave the way for more favorable outcomes in trade discussions. Leveraging shared interests. Another critical aspect of Trudeau's strategy involves identifying and promoting shared interests between Canada and the U.S. By emphasizing common goals, such as economic growth, national security, and stability, Trudeau is attempting to foster a sense of partnership that transcends individual trade disputes. For instance, both nations benefit from energy cooperation, given that Canada is a significant supplier of oil and natural gas to the U.S. By highlighting the importance of this relationship, Trudeau can reinforce the idea that a strong Canada-U.S. partnership is mutually beneficial, particularly in the energy sector. The importance of a balanced trade relationship. The need for fair trade practices. As Canada navigates its relationship with the U.S., the importance of advocating for fair trade practices cannot be overstated. Trudeau's efforts to engage with the Trump administration should not come at the expense of Canadian interests. Instead, it is essential to strike a balance that protects Canadian industries while promoting a fair and equitable trading environment. Advocating for fair trade practices involves addressing concerns about tariffs and trade barriers, while also emphasizing Canada's contributions to the U.S. economy. Highlighting the value of Canadian exports can demonstrate that a balanced trade relationship benefits both nations and fosters economic growth. Seeking multilateral solutions. In addition to bilateral negotiations, Canada can also explore multilateral approaches to trade challenges. Engaging with international organizations and trade partners can provide avenues for addressing trade disputes and promoting equitable practices on a broader scale. For instance, Canada could work with other countries facing similar trade challenges to advocate for fairer trade agreements and practices. This collaborative approach may strengthen Canada's position and enhance its ability to influence trade discussions with the U.S. The role of public opinion. Engaging Canadian citizens. As Trudeau navigates the complexities of trade relations with the U.S., public opinion plays a crucial role in shaping his government's approach. Engaging Canadian citizens and ensuring that they understand the implications of trade policies is vital for garnering support and maintaining trust. Trudeau's messaging should focus on the benefits of a strong Canada-U.S. partnership, while also addressing concerns about potential economic fallout. By communicating transparently about the challenges and opportunities, he can foster a sense of unity among Canadians, encouraging them to rally behind diplomatic efforts. Addressing concerns about national security. Public sentiment regarding national security is closely tied to trade relations. Canadians are increasingly aware of the geopolitical landscape and the importance of maintaining strong relationships with allies. By emphasizing Canada's role as a reliable partner, Trudeau can reassure citizens that prioritizing diplomacy is essential for safeguarding national interests. Moreover, addressing concerns about sourcing from less reliable partners can bolster public support for continued trade with the U.S. By framing this issue within the context of national security, Trudeau can appeal to citizens' desire for stability and security in an uncertain world. #The future of Canada-US trade relations. Preparing for uncertainty. As Canada moves forward in its trade negotiations, uncertainty remains a constant factor. The evolving political landscape in the U.S. and shifting global dynamics necessitate a flexible and adaptive approach. Trudeau's willingness to pivot from warnings to cooperation reflects an understanding of the need for resilience in the face of challenges. Preparing for uncertainty involves not only engaging with the Trump administration, but also anticipating potential changes in trade policies and global economic conditions. Building a robust strategy that accounts for various scenarios can help Canada navigate the complexities of international trade. The importance of long-term relationships. Ultimately, the future of Canada-US trade relations hinges on the ability to foster long-term partnerships built on trust and mutual respect. Trudeau's approach should focus on creating sustainable relationships with U.S. leaders that prioritize collaboration and dialogue. By emphasizing shared goals and interests, Trudeau can work towards a future where trade relations are characterized by stability and cooperation. This approach not only benefits both nations economically, but also strengthens the broader North American partnership. Conclusion. As Prime Minister Justin Trudeau confronts the looming threat of tariffs from the United States, his strategic pivot from warnings to cooperation reflects a nuanced understanding of the complexities of international trade relations. By positioning Canada as a reliable partner in achieving America's prosperity and emphasizing the risks of sourcing from less stable nations, Trudeau aims to reinforce the importance of maintaining strong bilateral ties. The implications of this approach extend beyond immediate trade discussions. By advocating for fair trade practices, engaging with public sentiment, and prioritizing long-term relationships, Trudeau seeks to navigate the challenges of a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. The road ahead may be fraught with uncertainties, but a commitment to diplomacy, collaboration, and shared interests will be essential for fostering a stable and prosperous future for both Canada and the United States. As the global economic environment continues to evolve, the importance of resilient trade relationships cannot be overstated, and Canada's proactive approach will play a pivotal role in shaping the future of its economic partnership with its largest neighbor.